r/ask Reddit. What's something you shouldn't give to a homeless person? A frozen turkey. Open bracket. Had a friend who used to send plated meals to the homeless people near her house. Occasionally, one day one of them came to her door with a frozen turkey. Someone had driven to the homeless area and handed this woman a frozen turkey. When the woman delivered it, she said, "I figured you have an oven. Maybe you can use it." What did they think I was going to do with it? I've got the shopping cart, not an oven. Close bracket. As a kid, who was poor but fortunately not homeless, we used to get a bunch of donated turkeys every Thanksgiving. Freezer would be wall to wall turkeys and we would be eating turkey for dinner for what seemed like months. Thank God we at least had a freezer, or no doubt much of it would have been wasted. People always donate turkeys on Thanksgiving, but ignore the rest of the year, I guess. But eating turkey for a couple of months is a lot better than eating nothing. I am thankful for anyone who donated something I ate as a kid, as I don't know where I would be now otherwise. Dead, I guess. Our grocery store used to donate turkeys every year for our Christmas drive. About 200 families. But they would run into the issue of people not being able to store or cook them, or just not practical to give a turkey to a family of 3 people. So now they give $25 store specific, handwritten gift cards for people to get whatever they need. I'm really surprised I haven't seen this answer, but anything of noticeably high value, brand name clothing or shoes, expensive backpacks, watches, etc. This can get them killed, or at the very least targeted and mugged. It also makes things harder for them to be taken seriously and receive effective aid if they are dressed in expensive clothing. That, or it's assumed they stole it, which is a whole other problem. This should honestly be the top answer. Rich people want to make themselves feel good and donate Gucci sweaters and shit that will get them ducked up and robbed. And nobody will ever help a dude in a Gucci sweater with a few bucks to get some food. It's just all around a really screwed up gift donation. There was a video of a social experiment I saw a while ago, where some people cleaned and dressed up a homeless person in a full suit in NYC, gave him a phone and a generic watch. The instruction for him was to stand outside, like maybe a Starbucks or something, pretend to be talking on the phone, and stop some people to ask for some change, like a couple quarters to $1 or $2. Turns out most people were more willing to help out a person who looks more well put together. Edit. Here is the video I was talking about. https://yahoo.b/98wpuar9b misremembered a lot of things. Just for your information. So sorry for the misinformation. I gotta be better to not be a part of the problem of spreading misinformation. Ending was pretty disheartening and got me choked up a bit. Made me rethink about helping the homeless again. I've become cold towards them since the time I was also in a financially bad place and decided to give $1 to a guy, then turns out he went next door to buy scratch ticket. Since then I felt so angry and distrust them. Related story time. I used to work at a thrift store in processing. Basically, I sorted donations, cleaned them up if needed, priced them, and put them out onto the floor. One day I got in a donation a bunch of those kits you see people put together for homeless people. They have things like a stick of deodorant, toothbrush, toothpaste, hand sanitizer, wet wipes, that sort of thing. I was going through them for things we weren't allowed to put onto the floor, like medication. They had packets of Tylenol in them. When I found a folded $50 bill in there, I unfolded it, and it was one of those Christian pamphlet things. You know, the ones that say, money isn't the cure for everything. Only Jesus will get you into heaven or whatever. So basically, don't get someone who's desperate for money fake money that says they shouldn't worry about money. Would be funny if people started putting those fake bill Christian pamphlets into the collection plate. I know a server that mailed the ones she collected to her local church. With any luck they were as crestfallen as she was when they realized what they really were. I've done outreach work. They get so much food and water, but females need feminine hygiene products and they all need socks. Nice socks and underwear are a small luxury that most people don't spend enough money on but make a world of a difference. I buy 10-20 pairs of darn tough socks every year and hand them out. They are game changing. They keep you warm and dry in the winter, and in the summertime cool and dry. You can usually wear them for 1-2 weeks before needing to clean. Need being an important word, and they are incredibly comfortable. I highly recommend them to everyone, but they are really game changing for someone who is out in the elements year round. Shout out to Dun Tough, one of Vermont's finest products. Used to live in Northfield near the factory, and people come from all over the state when they do their annual sale. A hard time and disrespect. Mostly related, but I work at a homeless shelter and you would not believe some of the shit that comes through donations. Lingerie, beat up clothing and shoes, outdated appliances. If you want to donate, you can always call ahead and see if the shelter is looking for particular items. Seasonal clothing, hygiene items, not half-used shampoo bottles, and new socks and underwear are always good ideas. Edit. Thanks for the awards. For those asking, my shelter always has lots of donations including full bottles of shampoos, so I would rather give out a full bottle rather than half. That reminds me of my time when I worked at a homeless center for mentally ill homeless, and I was tasked with sorting out a box of DVDs that were donated. 75% of the box was porn. I am pretty sure most PPL who donate stuff just have some junk that they don't want to throw away as it's perfectly usable, but they have no use or space for. I think the will this actually help whoever I am donating to is secondary to not wasting an item, and in their eyes they are saints for letting another person have their garbage. I used to work for a non-profit and we gave out branded tire pressure gauges. I'm not sure why. I thought it was an odd choice, but we found out one day while outreaching that some of our clients were turning them into crack pipes. Needless to say, we stopped giving those out. How did that start? Tire pressure gauges are in the sweet spot of branded promotional items because they have a useful purpose. People commonly don't have one already, and they're easy to store away until needed. The key question when picking a branded promo item is it something that people will reasonably find value in, and do they not already have one? You don't want them to think it's the best gift ever. You just want them to remember it and not immediately throw it away. Laxatives. This homeless guy that used to live in a nearby bridge was given food that secretly had some sort of laxative in it. Needless to say, he became a lot more wary of free food afterwards. I don't think they ever found out who the pose that did it was. You gotta be a special type of awful to mess with homeless people. Yeah, that's some bullshit. I used to be a fast food chicken manager. One night while closing I was tossing out garbage and heard a rustle in the dumpster. Turned out it was a homeless guy looking for food. I felt bad for him and was like, hold on man, I'll be right back. We always throw out a ton of food, so I went to go get him some of the chicken we had boxed up to take home for ourselves toss out. When I came back I handed him a box. He was like, you didn't poison this with bleach or something, did you? I was like, what? Why would I do that? The look on his face, I could tell it was a serious question. So I took a leg out and ate it in front of him. The thought that people would do that to someone made me so mad. Ask them what they want. We had a homeless man who walked around in a garbage bag. Explained people kept giving him clothes and 3 times he had been attacked for them. If you're not sure what they need, ask. Instead of cash, I asked a man what he wanted from the gas station and he asked for laundry detergent. We always think about food and shelter, which are fundamental, but hygiene is such a larger category of luxury that we take for granted. Laundry detergent actually sells for a decent price outside of stores. Liquid and pod laundry detergents are some of the most stolen products and typically end up being sold through the black market. Internet fame. Stop recording your good deeds to get attention. If you wanna help someone out, just help them edit. A lot of people were confused by this, so I just want to clarify. There is a difference between using someone for personal gain versus using social media in a positive way to truly make an impact. I'm talking about people who exploit others to grow their channel and or get a ton of donations and then misuse the funds. It's specifically an a-hole move when a person won't isn't given an option to consent, which you could argue are a lot of people, especially if they don't give consent and then aren't given resources since they don't want to be in a video. In Islam they say good deeds that are done in secret are worth more than observed ones. Christianity, when actually practiced biblically, says the same. TBH, this is gonna sound weird, but homemade food. It's better to give already packaged, ready-made food so that there isn't any doubt that the food has been tampered with. There was a time in my area that people were poisoning homeless via homemade sandwiches. Someone in my local subreddit reported some Ashat was giving out sandwiches with fesses in them. Don't just drop off food in to-go containers near someone's tent. If you're bringing food, talk to them, give it to them. Stacking up perishable food they can't manage or really throw away is only bringing mice to their living situation. Really glad I read this comment because I've done exactly this more than once. Lesson learned. Thank you. We used to check in on this homeless man occasionally to make sure he was doing okay. One year we were chatting and he says, "Hey, I have to give you something." I was excited, thinking maybe he's super artsy and made us something cool to remember him by. He opens his trench coat and reveals a giant frozen uncooked slab of pork. Someone gave me this ducking slab of meat. What the duck does he think I'm going to do with this? I'm sick of carrying this around. Canned food without pull open tabs. Anything that is perishable. Homemade food, unless you know them. Judgment. People can be homeless for a variety of reasons. Not every homeless person is a bad person, and no one deserves to be homeless. Whether how they got there or what they're doing while they're there is wrong to you. Good things. Baby wipes, water bottles. Reusable too. Socks, hand warmers, hygiene products for periods. Best thing. Ask them. Each person is different. Has access to different resources. The best way to know someone's needs is to ask them yourself. ETA. I say not homemade food because people have sometimes added things in the food to make it inedible. From the toothpaste prankster to glass. Things can still be added to sealed food, sure, but definitely less likely and more noticeable, in my opinion. Canned food without pull open tabs because of how common that is. I'd feel that can opener might be a useful thing if you have one to give. Speaking as someone who used to be homeless, my stuff got stolen or lost when moving locations plenty of times, so I would personally prefer not to have one, but others may. Years ago, I was nipping to my local supermarket and there was a homeless dude with a cute dog curled up next to him. Mindful that any money I gave him may be spent wisely, I said I'd get his papa some food, at which he responded, "Oh, for duck's sake, can you not, Dut?" Astonished, I was about to have a ducking meltdown on his ass, but he held up a finger and pulled a bag round from behind him. It was rammed with tins of dog food, clearly from other well-meaning shoppers. Closing the bag back up, he sighed heavily and exclaimed, "For the love of God, can you just buy me a ducking tin opener?" Edit. Wow. Thank you so much for your responses to this, which were entirely unexpected, and thank you too for the awards. Understandably, some of you have pulled me up on my assumption that the homeless guy may have spent the money unwisely, so I thought I'd better provide more information as to my thinking at the time. There was a real issue in those days with homelessness, drug taking and alcoholism, which I know is still a problem everywhere. I get it, I really do, but I had just lost a dear friend to a drug overdose and I was as raw as duck over it. So, in short, I didn't want to be the reason behind someone else's oblivion. Hope that explains it. Closing the bag back up, he sighed heavily and exclaimed, "For the love of God, can you just buy me a ducking tin opener?" Is it terrible that I burst out laughing at this part? I hope you got that guy his can opener. Yes, lol. Not only did I buy him a tin opener, I got his dog a bowl as well. An unsolicited conversation on why they wouldn't be homeless if they pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. There's these two YouTube channels that I really admire for their interviews with the homeless. Broken Dreams. They help with awareness of the drug problem, especially the fentanyl problem in America, and how homelessness is just a spiral that people can't break. https://yahoo. BBF8YM2060 and Soft White Underbelly. They do a great job at just letting people tell their stories and how you can never judge someone just because they got handed a shitty deal in life. https://yahoo. BH50FOCWMY. I just linked both of their intro videos from their channels. Edit. Here's another link to a sober woman living in a sober homeless block with schizophrenia. Since people still seem so ignorant to the troubles and mental health crisis that are so prevalent in the homeless community, https://yahoo. Yautu, B/586NBQ4MPX4 and not saying that addiction isn't a mental health problem because it is, and usually starts from people self-medicating an issue they didn't even know existed. But for those ignorant people that just love to blame drugs and people being lazy and that they chose this lifestyle, this is for you. I was homeless when I was 15. I was in the process of changing schools when it happened, and once my dad disappeared I was not in school and couldn't enroll myself. My state requires a work permit to work, and even if I could have got one, most employers won't hire anyone under 16 because of our restriction. I couldn't enroll myself in school to obtain the work permit. I was unhireable from a legal standpoint. Still, sometimes I'd be minding my own ducking business and some douchebag would take it upon themselves to tell me Walmart has a hiring sign like, okay, talk to the governor then. Apples. Try softer foods. Edit. Thank you for the upvotes. If there's anyone with the savvy for fundraising, I know an individual in Lahaina that could really use some attention. I call him Blind Mike. He absolutely is blind, and says it's from cataracts that can be corrected with surgery. The guy toting along with him uses him as a hustle and takes most of the drive-by offerings. I've spent a good amount of time talking to him. That said, he is alcoholic and not willing to help himself, but geez, if there's a way to get his vision back, I'm more than happy to coach him from there. You know, I usually take an apple with me to work as an easy snack. On my commute, I usually pass several houseless folks. Typically, I offer them my apples since I usually don't carry cash change on me. I was surprised how many of them have refused because they physically don't think they can bite into an apple without ducking up their teeth mouth. Really flabbergasted me at first, thinking a nice nutritious fruit would be a treat. Now I bring oranges and they are thrilled. Soft foods FTW. Yeah, I haven't eaten an apple in years because of my bad teeth. I recently got the rest of them, 14 teeth, removed, and I'm gonna get fitted for dentures at the end of December. Apples is on my list of food for a D after dentures. LOL. Drugs. They will just use them to get money. Attachments for their KitchenAid stand mixer. Toaster perhaps? Garlic press? Dining set for 12 people? Milk-based foods. If a person spends some years without consuming dairy products, they lose their ability to digest lactose. Lactose intolerance increases with age. Open bracket. I googled to provide a reference, and there are many, so you can Google if you want to check this. People would be shocked to find out how common lactose intolerance is. Unless you're pure Northern European ancestry, there's a good chance of being lactose intolerant. I mean, East Asian people are like 93% lactose intolerant. When you think of their food, you don't usually think cream, cheese, or milk. There's a reason for it. Mexicans have a higher level of intolerance, as do African Americans. I think people just haven't lived any other way, and just assume it's how life is supposed to be. I quit dairy, and I felt so much better overall. More energy and feeling normal. Lost a lot of weight doing it too. Whatever they don't want. I was gonna buy a homeless dude a nice backpack once, but he didn't want to because chances he will get robbed for it or stolen. Same. I bought one regular in my neighborhood a sleeping mat, sleeping bag, and a tarp. He sold them, but he explained that if he hadn't he would have likely been robbed. They are often targeted. I'm an NYC. There's the homeless one should avoid like the plague, and then there's the homeless who one can approach and give food, or a few bucks. It bothers me to say, but as a New Yorker, you develop the savviness and instinct to size up the difference really ducking fast. I'm a train operator. The ones you give food to are the ones who are keeping to themselves and sitting the corner. The ones you don't give to are the ones actively asking. 90% of time I see them shooting up heroin near the 10 marker, or like you said, the crazy ones. I started to have to keep cigarettes in order to get homeless people off of the train. Stuff that they have to carry around. I bought a homeless man a bottle of sunscreen, an ice cream cone, and a large bottle of water and some protein bars before, as it was more than 40 degrees Celsius in Canada and he always sits by the intersection where I work, and I couldn't imagine how sunburned he would be. I was curious as to why he didn't accept the sunscreen or protein bars, but this comment offers some clarity. Sunscreen is greasy, and they don't have easy access to a shower to clean up or even wash their hands after applying it. If you can't wash it off, then it gets on your sleeping bag and clothes, making them less warm and just overall nasty. I haven't been homeless before, but I have done some long distance hiking and did everything I possibly could to avoid sunscreen. Hats with a wide brim around the entire thing, long sleeve white shirts, UV blocking gloves, etc. Gatorade. I tried handing out some bottles of ice cold Gatorade one summer and I got turned down by over a dozen people. Apparently it gives them the runs. I was thinking electrolytes. Woman shrugging. Edit. I was in my 20s. It was 105 degrees. I had a big pack of cold Gatorade bottles. Thought, hey, I'll drive around and hand these out. Everyone passed because they told me that Gatorade gives them the shits. I know water is better. It's what I had at the time. I wasn't trying to be a shitty person. Pun intended. It's got what plants crave. Tons of sugar in Gatorade and many of those homeless may be diabetic without knowing it. An STD. Well, to be fair, I was 14 and he gave the STD to me. And also he was only technically homeless. Not one of them fancy hobos you see in parks. Fake Christian money. My grandma once watched a homeless woman's bag of stuff break and the woman started crying. My grandma had one of those sturdy reusable grocery bags. She asked the women if she liked the bag. Grandma gave her the bag and the women acted like she'd been given $1 million. Sometimes it's the things we'd never expect that mean the world to the homeless. I have a similar story. I was coming home from work, and a local homeless guy was begging at the train station I got off at. It was winter, and he was in a tee and shorts, one hand holding out his change cup, the other he was just bawling into. I myself was broke as hell, had a roof over my head and a job, but was just getting by. I also knew this bloke happened to be deaf and mute as I'd read his sign a few times before. I jogged home, went up to the attic where I knew I had a brand new sleeping bag I didn't need. Can't remember why. Went back to the station and kinda knelt in front of him to get his attention. I don't speak sign language. Just awkwardly held the sleeping bag out in front of me and gestured for him to take it. Dude looked at me, down at the bag, back at me, and just wrapped me in a massive bear hug. Cost me nothing, but meant so much to him. For Thanksgiving I saw a couple hand a turkey to a homeless guy that was panhandling. Sounds sweet, right? Except it was raw defrosted meat and he had to stop panhandling for cash and get in the bus to go back home. Or B, the meat goes bad. Go back home to where? To the couple's home. Set it on fire and cook the turkey there. Criminal charges for simply existing. Canned food without pop tops or a can opener to go with it. I think a more useful question may be, what is something you should give to a homeless person? For this, I live in a small city with a high percentage of homelessness. The local shelter around here recommends some great items to store in your car. Travel size hygiene products, new toothbrush, toothpaste, etc. Emergency space blankets, travel ponchos, capstick, thermal socks, reusable water bottles, non-perishable food items. Edit. Women's hygiene products, underwear are so important. Also, someone brought up a great point that not all homeless people have access to water filling stations, so reusable water bottles are not always that useful. Check with your local state resources. I've always been told don't give homeless people money because they'll spend it on drugs. I get that, but I also think if I was on the streets, especially in winter, then I'd need something like that just to survive, so I usually do anyway. Husband was homeless drug addict. He always gives them his change. Paying it back, he says. I was homeless and a guy threw a pack of razor blades in my lap and said do the world a favor, so I did. I used them to shave to help me find work. A month later I was in a caravan with a job to go to. 6 months later I had a car. Now I live in an apartment complex and have a full-time job. Attitude. Here's a valuable info. If you give someone something, homeless or not, it doesn't mean you can argue with that person about how they've used it. If you give a homeless person money, that's his money from that point on. He can spend it whenever and however he wants to. I don't care if he buys drugs or liquor. What I don't want is an old lady with a broken arm due to a desperate individual looking for a fix. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.